As far as he knows, it's the hunters who have to kill the monsters, so he, as just a delivery guy, isn't gonna fight, no way. The truth is, as long as his outfit is on cooldown, there's no way he can do anything. Then Erin changes her expression and says that she didn't expect him to be the type of person who plays with other people's lives. He tells the girl to calm down. All he's saying is that Song-Joon has to kill this monster, not him. Obviously, Song-Joon responds that that's crazy. He doesn't even have a weapon and he's finished. But that's when our guy pulls out his cell phone, saying that the delivery has arrived. The weapon of Ares that he had brought. Amidst all that light, the two of them cover their faces, wondering what's happening. The boss's eye sees the sword appearing in front of him, the sword that everyone believed only existed in legends, known as the War Ender. But the delivery guy is already leaving, saying that with this, the job is done. However, Song-Joon tells him to wait and asks who sent this sword and how he can walk around in dungeons if he isn't a hunter. Our guy turns around with Lucio in his arms and says they can call him the Divine Deliverer. On his motorcycle, he says they'll talk later and goodbye. Song-Joon is there, not understanding what this crazy guy is talking about, while the boss is preparing for another attack. With no other option, he's going to grab the sword, because this is his only chance. As soon as his hand touches it, a red energy rises to the sky and the guy already feels a different kind of strength. The guy assumed the mythic form of Ares and looked exactly like him, almost a second awakening, and Erin is scared by that incredible power. The boss prepared the attack, but now the kid is cold and calculating all of a sudden. He prepares his attack too, saying that now he feels like he can win this fight. He activates the divine power of Ares. The sword becomes gigantic, consumed by a blaze, and he sends a cut. The boss counterattacks too, Dragon Ball style. The powers collide in the air, but just like Goku is the protagonist, Song-Joon, in this case he's not the protagonist, but his power went through and evaporated the monster. The explosion made an X and the entire cave was illuminated. When the dust settled, Erin was scared. Not only had he killed the boss, but he had destroyed the entire dungeon. Man, you're awesome. At least this power of Ares here, right? Started to fade because otherwise the guy would be too OP. Erin holds up the guy who fainted and says he did a good job, but she's more curious to know who that guy on the motorcycle is. Back in the city, our guy is hungry and wants to get something to eat. Even the Divine Deliverer has his needs. In the newspaper, they're starting to talk about how the gate that appeared in the city of Runde was finally cleared. Everything was thanks to the strongest hunter in the country, known as Song-Joon. He's at the hospital, saying that's all they're talking about, but he knows that if it weren't for the Divine Deliverer, there's no way he would have killed the boss. He looks around, thinking that that guy isn't ordinary, especially considering that he's delivering artifacts that belong to the gods. Then someone comes running in the hallway. It's Do-yoon, who opens the door, calling for the guild master. But he doesn't know if he's finished yet. But when he sees the boss, he says that the bastard wasn't hurt that much. Then he gets excited, saying that he heard that the kid destroyed the entire boss. It's no wonder he had the title of third strongest. Besides, he wants to know what that red sword was. Song-Joon went to the other room, and he only responds that it broke. Startled. Do-yoon already says that that sword cost 100 billion, so how did it break? But the guild master tells him not to worry, because the new one he got is much better. An item that was brought by the Divine Deliverer himself. Do-yoon is having a fit, babbling. I don't know what's happening, but Song-Joon says that it's good that he's there because he has to ask him a favor. Now he knows who that guy is and he wants him to find his address. Do-yoon wants to know why, and it's obvious that the boss wants to recruit the guy for the guild. Then it switches over to the Temple of Ares. Ares himself is coming all happy, saying that it looks like the kid came back. He must have delivered the sword. Our deliverer tells him not to worry, that he delivered it with ease and the hunter is alive. Ares relaxes and says that it's no wonder the kid has the reputation he has. He then tells him to come in because he wanted to deliver his gift. Our guy smiles, thinking he was going to be tricked by this crook from Olympus, while Lucio tells him to show more respect, that that guy is royalty from Olympus. That's when our guy remembers that the guy is a prince. They walk through the temple while our kid is curiously looking around. Suddenly, Ares stops and calls for the nymph, telling him to wait there for a little bit because it was only for Radium to accompany her. Poor thing didn't even receive an explanation, and our guy just said goodbye. They followed through the corridors of the temple, and suddenly our kid looked up, startled. The door to the place was gigantic, and Ares said that that thing weighed 3 tons. Our guy wants to know how he opens the door, Hunter x Hunter style, to which he responds that he just has to use Nan, and there it opens. Obviously, the amount of treasure in there was absurd. Everything that was in there belonged to the heir of Olympus and god of war, him, Ares. Obviously, the crook wants to know how much all of this is worth, asks if he can choose anything. I thought Ares was going to be stingy, but he says that our guy can choose whatever he wants. Then he crouches down, saying he knows of something good. Then he shows a golden box. Radium asks what it is, and the guy says he doesn't know either. Our kid wants to know then why he's giving something like that to him, to which the god responds that even for him, this item would be considered a rare treasure, so it was good for him to keep it. He doesn't know exactly what it is, but he guarantees that it's definitely anything in this world but useless. That's because the god of Olympus himself delivered it, saying that this was one of the most precious treasures he possessed. He's curious to know what it is too, so he's sure that it must be a great reward. However, by the expression on Radium's face, it doesn't seem to be a good thing. He says it's trash, and Ares tells him to show him. Then our guy pulls out a wooden stick, and man, more than 99 wooden sticks there. That's where that scene of nothing changes to a sea where a big boat is sailing and a guy sees that they're having a problem. They ran into a group of sirens, and it really is a problem, man. Poor Jason, he's already going to fall for the siren's song. The scene goes back again to our guy hitting Ares with a stick. What kind of madness is this, man? What a mess. But we're back in a scene of our guy waking up. His body is exhausted. He apparently slept a lot after he got the wooden stick from Ares, and that's it. He went home and slept, and now he woke up with Lucio dreaming about sweets. He tells the damn kid to wake up, but he realizes that she must be tired too and puts the covers over her. Sometime later at the convenience store, he bought an energy drink with chocolate, thanked the guy at the counter, and looked to the side. A poster showed that the exam for Hunter was coming in 3 days. But becoming a hunter is something he never even considered. The problem is that it's getting harder and harder to go in and out of the dungeons while hiding his identity. Maybe he should give this hunter thing a chance. He goes back home. Lucio asks for some sweets. He says he brought something good when suddenly a message arrives from the system. It was a request from Hephaestus, and he says that they're going to have to leave the food for later. With his new motorcycle, he already arrived at that super hot place, saying hi. The dwarf friend was happy that he arrived quickly, and our guy asked what was up. Then Hephaestus said that lately everyone is commenting that he saved Khan's leg and also helped Ares. Radium, all crooked, says he didn't imagine that the news would spread so quickly, and it was all luck. Then he wants to know what the delivery of the day is, and the little dwarf looks back. The guy approaches, and he says he arrived at the right time. At that moment, Lucio seems startled seeing the person's face, and as always Radium has no idea who she is. Then he says that this guy is fast like lightning when it comes to making deliveries by sea. His name was Jason, and he worked in Argo deliveries. Radium looked at Google and found out that he really was a kind of mythological sailor from the Argonauts. He has no idea yet, but he exists. Well, he doesn't really exist because it's mythology, but like that, he exists in mythology. He introduces himself to our guy and says he can call him the Great Adventurer. Okay, that's all. Okay, here's the translated and slightly adjusted text, aiming for a natural US English tone. So, Jason's thanking our guy for healing his adoptive father's leg. Then he asks if he can get straight to the point. Our guy says it's cool, and that's when Jason reveals his company is facing some problems. Unfortunately, a bunch of sirens have shown up on their trade route, and they can't get past them. Back in the day when this happened, they relied on Orpheus to deal with the sirens, but he's on a long business trip right now, so they're kind of stuck. That's when he heard rumors about the great delivery guy and came to talk to our man. Radium asks if he's asking him to handle the sirens. Jason says that's exactly it. But our guy's confused. If he's just a delivery guy, why are they trying to hire him to kill monsters? Jason tells him not to get discouraged, that when he hears the offer, he definitely won't want to refuse. The mission to kill the sirens is worth 500,000. Man, that's harsh, killing the sirens. They're kinda cute in a way. But, on the other hand, Radium's obviously pretty motivated by that cash. That's when Ephesius speaks up and mentions that the sirens are out at sea. So it's gonna be pretty tough for him with his motorcycle. Our guy is so out of touch that he didn't even know a siren would hang out in the ocean. He's exaggerating a bit. However, Ephesius tells him not to worry. He's got a magic item perfect for this. Now, on the ship, they're approaching the Melodic Islands. Jason explains that they're just ahead. Our guy says not to worry, he'll take care of it. The guy thanks him, says that when he gets back, they'll give him a boat to get back to the island right away. Our man jumps into the ocean, like, whoosh! He activates his motorcycle. This thing is aquatic? Oh, he's slick. His hat has a water buff on it that Ephesius put on it. Basically, it's Naruto's water walking trick, but for 5 minutes on a motorcycle. Lucio, though, warns him that he doesn't really know what a siren is like. He's thinking they're hot babes with fishtails. But Lucio says he has no idea about the singing abilities they possess. There's a reason even the great hero Odysseus plugged his ears when he passed these islands. A small group of these creatures could take down a kraken in an instant. He says not to worry, he came well prepared. When it comes to dealing with violent monsters, nothing's better than beating them with a stick. The sirens are all hiding, saying that the nymph and the boy are coming. Then they start going into the water, saying they'll have to deal with him. Our guy's cruising along on his motorcycle when Lucio warns him that something's coming. Right then, the monster looks ugly as hell when it opens its big mouth. But when it opens its mouth, he comes at it with a big stick and smacks it in the face. That's what happened, right? No funny business. He remembers that Ares told him not to worry, that a gift from Zeus would definitely be immensely powerful. He asks the siren how it feels to get smacked in the head with the stick plus 99. But the girl's not really fazed. She says it felt more like he hit her with one of those pool noodles. He remembers Ares' face and says that the bastard tricked him. This thing is useless. Sometime later, the sirens are looking around, wondering where they went and how they disappeared so suddenly. Our guy's hiding behind a rock with Lucio with his helmet on. He asks how the situation is, and she says all the creatures went in another direction, so for now they're safe. Right in front of them, though, is the siren's lair. He remembers that in the conversation, Jason said it was easier to kill the queen than to kill a bunch of sirens because that would eliminate all their power. Lucio, though, says that's crazy, especially since that little piece of wood from Ares is useless. He holds the stick and says that he really wants to kill that bastard, but at the same time he has his shop to look for new options. There's nothing in this world that money can't solve. Then, a golden orb of Zeus's lightning appears. Obviously, it wasn't cheap, 150,000 points, or about $1.5 million. Meanwhile, inside the siren's lair, the queen is doing well. One ugly siren said they haven't had food for 10 days, so they want permission to hunt. But the siren queen, in all her beauty, said she wouldn't allow it. Orpheus, the person who normally ends their hunts, wasn't there, so an opportunity like this wouldn't come twice. They're gonna pretend to be calm until the humans try to pass in a giant boat, and that's when they'll attack. They all have to be more patient because soon a good prey will appear. Man, she's beautiful, but she's dangerous. Our guy overhears all this. He thinks it's scary how this slang term for woman is talking about killing a bunch of humans so calmly. Lucio says that their plan must be to eat Jason's whole group. Suddenly, he asks if she remembers the black noodles they ate. She says yes, and that it was delicious. He then says that if she helps with a certain plan, he'll buy the deluxe version, which is even better. She immediately gets serious, saying she's focused. He then whispers the whole plan into her ear. She asks if he's sure and warns that it might be a bit risky. But he takes off his helmet, puts it on her head, and says he's counting on her. He's sure she can do it. Then, she flies off, saying she won't disappoint him. He knows the helmet effect only works nearby, so at this moment, the sirens can see her. He yells, calling them a bunch of dumb fish, the dangerous enemies. They turn around, wanting to know how he got into the temple. Our guy turns around and slaps their butts, telling them to come kill him. Until now, I hadn't seen the artist give this much attention to any waifu, but our guy even made the shadow and light. The queen obviously didn't like this and orders them to capture him. These biting monsters all go towards our guy, who's already running away. The problem is that since he unequipped the helmet, his aquatic mobility will deactivate soon. Right then, he yells for Lucio, who's on his back with the orb of Zeus in his hand. He then activates the power of the orb and says he's leaving. It was a single-use item and the whole temple explodes. The sirens that were on his back seem to be buried, and the whole place falls apart. The plan was just to kill the queen, but since they were a little behind, he ended up destroying everything. He knows that Jason's life will be easy. Lucio appears, congratulating him, but our guy thinks it's strange. If he killed the queen, why didn't he receive any reward? That's when the mommy comes out of the middle of the rubble and grabs Lucio's leg. The queen asks what they think they're doing. At this moment, she wasn't hearing the breath of any of her daughters. Our guy yells for Lucio, who was about to be devoured. He jumps, activates stage 2 of his rage, and runs towards her. Man, he landed a punch on the queen's cheek, telling her to get away from Lucio. The idiot was spinning around in the water. Our boy is impressed with the strength of stage 2 of the rage. The problem is that now the queen had disappeared. When he goes to take a look underwater, she comes out near him. Man, she grabbed the guy's leg. I don't know if that's good or bad. Considering that she pulled him underwater, I think it's bad. The boy is being taken to the depths, and she warns that she will continue to take him to the bottom of the ocean until he dies without air. Man, Radium comes with drama, wondering if this is really the end of him. He just managed to buy his first apartment, and he still has so many points to spend. He didn't want to die, and he wouldn't accept dying like this. Now was the time to give that boss a beating. At this moment, the gauntlet was in overload mode with 100% power. He landed one on her head that looked ugly as hell. For the love of God, her head was all trembling. He gave her a sequence, hitting her with the wood on her face. I was gonna say slang for penis, but it would be peculiar. The beating was intense, the ocean shone, and Lucio was startled to see our guy saved with the big stick in his hand, saying that justice was served and the sirens were defeated. Sometime later, in a Chinese restaurant, Lucio is eating, saying that this fancier dish is really delicious. Our guy smiled, saying he was happy she liked it, that from now on, if she wanted anything, she just had to ask and he would pay. He knows that things had a good chance of going wrong, but it was thanks to Lucio that he managed to survive that and end the sirens. But obviously, he gets credit for giving the queen a lot of beatings. He then tells her to have fun because she deserves it. After all, the slang for woman has 633,000 points. If he turns everything into money, the guy has $6 million. Even considering the 150,000 that he had to spend to buy the power of Zeus, he still made a lot of profit. Really, fighting monsters got him interested. That's when he remembers the hunter exam. She asks what it is. He says it's fried pork, but she has to look at me in the sauce. He asks how the taste is. She says the whole dish is delicious. He says the whole dish is for her. Too lazy to keep dipping in the sauce, she decides to throw everything on the plate. But he immediately hits her on the head, saying that's rude. Sometime later, they are at home exhausted. She ate a lot and he says that she has been risky lately. He has been working hard in recent days, so he was thinking of taking a vacation. But then, a knock at the door. Someone asks if the person is home. He goes all tired, saying yes, going to see. When he opens the door, there is a person there with a mask, glasses, and a toque, asking if he is Ron Lee. Our guy already imagined that it's the crazy guy and closes the door, saying he doesn't want to buy anything. The person wants to stretch. Our guy is angry. Since when do these door-to-door sellers even know the name? Lucio is asking who it is, and he says it's an annoying seller. Man, the poor guy is breaking down the door, saying he knows very well who Ron Lee is. He is the divine deliverer. Now Ron Lee knows who you really are. When he opens the door angrily, he sees that it's Se Jun with the giant sword. Our guy thinks this guy is crazy and asks why he's there. He says it's obvious. He's there to recruit our guy for the guild, Young Wang. Sometime later, in a coffee shop, he goes into his pocket and says that before getting into the details, there is something he wants to deliver as a reward for the last help. Our guy accepts, winning 500,000. Man, easy money for this boy. The cheeky boy says he didn't need all that. Sejun says it's okay, then says that now it's time to get into the details of the offer. If he accepted, signing with the guild would earn him a bonus of 200,000 plus an annual salary of 300,000. In addition to incentives with contributions. He wants to know what the boy thinks of the offer. Sejun is sure that this money would change the life of any hunter, so there's no way he can refuse. Do-one in the hospital told him that our guy not only is not a hunter, but doesn't even have an official license. Even so, he was making deliveries inside Tartarus, killed 8 trigrams, and arrived mysteriously at the other dungeon even without a license. His presence in the guild will bring a lot of money. Sejun was excited until our guy apologized, but he was going to refuse. This slang for idiot was even talking about the dates, thinking he had accepted. But Radu reminds him once again that he will not accept this offer. Already outside, desperate, he's saying that they can modify the terms. But our boy says he's not interested in joining any guild. The leader wants to know what he's doing that's better than this offer that changes the life of anyone. Our boy shows the cell phone and says that it's clear his deliveries. As soon as he accepts, Sejun is blinded by the light, and our guy disappeared. The scene changes to the middle of the mountains, and Lucio comments that he had said he was going to rest today. All sweaty, he says that was the plan. He didn't imagine that the slang for bastard who made the request would be at the top of a mountain. Normally, when he accepts in this way on the cell phone, he is taken to the point where the person is. But for some reason, this time he came out at the foot of the mountain and will have to climb everything. It's the fault of that slang for bastard Song-young who kept wanting to call him to the guild when he has no interest. He has some suits that have a recharge time but have no power. In addition, he can make much more money with delivery than with this offer, so he will be screwed. Sometime later, they finally arrive at the destination. The two are exhausted, but suddenly his expression changes. In front of him were some giant dark slimes with a mono eye on the body. Lucio asks what this business is. He says he also has no idea. That's when, walking around there, stepping on one of these, he feels the same sensation as that monster he found in that dungeon. He asks her if she knows what creature that is from mythology. But she says she has never heard about something like that. When she says she has an idea of what it is, suddenly the floor starts to shake. The monster rises on his back. Our guy thought it was all dead. But someone approaches with a golden body and lands a punch that explodes everything. Run took a scare, and the guy says he's too old to be fighting like that. His hair is all full of scars. He says the body is not the same anymore. He turns to radio, then comments that he heard a lot about the boy. Our boy is scared with the size of the legend and wonders if this is the client of the time. He asks if Lucio knows who this is, who responds that it's obvious. He was the person responsible for fulfilling the 12 works delivered by the goddess Hera, who apparently is a very talkative goddess too. This is the hero who made the gods win the giants, the legendary Hercules. The guy, kind of embarrassed, says that this is a children's story and is making him a little shy. Our guy is thinking that if that's the case, he's the person who gives the poisoned arrow in Chiron's legs. He then asks our guy if he was the person who helped Chiron to recover all crooked. Run says it was the Hydra that helped, he didn't do anything. Hercules, however, slaps him on the back, saying he's very happy that he did that. Almost broke the suit. Then the guy says that the nymph is right and his name is Hercules, a demigod of the past who today is a mythical creature that protects Olympus. Our boy and Alcio. Okay, here's the English translation of the text, adjusted for clarity and flow. So, Hercules called us two here because he needs some help. Our guy asks, with what? He points to a cave, telling him to take a look. During the giants' attack, that place served as a portal for monsters to invade Olympus. Lately, several tentacled creatures have been emerging from there. He's never seen anything like it, so he thinks it's an invasion from another realm. Our guy knows that maybe this has to do with that monster that was in the dungeon, and Hercules says that his request is simple. He wants to know where these monsters are coming from. Our guy receives the mission to find out why the monsters are appearing, with a 24-hour limit. If he doesn't complete it or cancels the request, he'll lose 200,000 coins. What the heck? But looking at Hercules with his bulging muscles, he just accepts, saying he'll try to find out quickly. Hercules then says that he's just like his wife EB described him. Our guy remembers that this EB is that first seemingly innocent girl who opened the door for him to make his first delivery. And our guy thinks it's interesting how all this mythology is mixing together. The system says it will guide him to his destination. However, our guy says there's something strange with the map. Looking at a cliff, he says it's showing that direction, but how is he supposed to get to a place like that? Hercules picks the guy up and tells him not to worry, that he'll get there in record time. Before our guy can respond, he's already been launched. Meanwhile, at the Sun June Guild, Doyen is rushing into the room, desperately calling for the guild master. The leader tells him not to invade the office like that, but Doyen is anxious to know how the conversation went with the delivery guy. The leader just explains that he was completely rejected, and the person didn't even seem interested in listening to what he had to say. The friend finds it strange because the offer he made would change anyone's life. But Sun Jun says he has no idea. The guy really disappeared out of nowhere. The friend thinks it was just a random excuse, but the other one doesn't think that's the case. He's thinking about the fact that he appeared that time in the dungeon. Besides, after everything happened, he even received a message from Eris himself confirming that he sent this item. Sun Jun tells him not to worry, that he'll try to invite this guy to the guild while he focuses on playing Dark Souls. Then he comments to Doyen about how the sale of that sword is going after he got Eris's sword. Obviously, he sold the old one, which was also worth a lot. The plan was to take part of that sale and use it to buy our boy, but he told him to get lost. Doyen says that apparently, he hasn't received the news that there's a guy from Japan who seems very interested in buying it. The leader comments that if that's the case, it's time to start making preparations for the shipment. This is because recently, every time an extremely expensive item is sold, there are robberies in the middle of the transaction. But because he uses a valuable item, he can't risk letting it get stolen. He thinks about hiring someone, and that's when he remembers that our guy is a delivery person. So, he tells his friend that he had an idea. Back with our guy who was thrown by Hercules and fell into the middle of the precipice. The poor guy had his head all twisted, wondering why he was thrown like that. That's when the system warns him that he was really arriving at the place. Afraid of having all the bones in his body destroyed, he pulls out his motorcycle in the middle of the air. The guy is accelerating downwards, exploding. I don't know if that was a good idea. Smoke rises. Apparently, the motorcycle has awesome shock absorbers. The guy knows that he only survived because of this thing. He almost had Hercules kill them both. He still tells the sleeping Lucy that they have arrived. But now he doesn't even have any idea what he's looking for there. He's there complaining about how he's going to find this thing that he doesn't even know what it is, when there's a giant foot on his back. The whole place starts to tremble, and Lucy clings to his leg, wanting to understand what's happening. He remembers that when they saw that monster in the dungeon, he also felt a similar earthquake. But that's when he hears someone say the name Hercules. Our guy is confused, not knowing who said that, and looks back. Wow, there was a guy with water on his back. If I'm not mistaken, this jerk who has a planet on his back is Atlas. Wow, the guy is really gigantic compared to our little guy. He wants to know why there's a giant down there. Atlas asks if he knows someone called Hercules. Our guy, all twisted, tries to explain that he was recently hired by Hercules to find out what's happening in this region. He comments about the strange monsters, and Atlas starts to laugh suddenly, with a giant, bright ball on his back. He says that Hercules must be having problems and sent him there to be found. Our guy, however, wants to understand why there's a giant with a giant ball. Impudently, he asks if the giant knows any information about everything that's going on. But he responds that he has no reason to help him or Hercules. Our guy asks Lucy why the guy seems so angry, because she responds in disbelief that he doesn't know this. The guy in front of him was the Titan who carried the celestial sphere, known as Atlas. After the Great War in which the Titans were defeated, Atlas was punished for all eternity to carry a planet. This punishment came from Zeus, who is Hercules' father. So that explains the whole issue. Our boy is there thinking that that jerk had to have said if there was going to be all this drama in the middle of the job. Then Atlas asks if their little chat is over, and our guy is scared that the jerk heard everything. To which Atlas responds that it's exactly as the nymph said. If there are monsters walking on the earth, it has nothing to do with him. Now things are bad for him, who got involved in another issue of the gods, while all he wanted to do was a delivery. For some reason, he tries to act cute, asking if the Titan is really going to say no to this cute little face. Atlas just tells him to shut up before he gets crushed. Because our guy says he's not asking for this information for free. If he said what was happening, he would do any favor he asked. Suddenly, the god's expression changes. He sees that he's being very careless making an offer like that. Atlas laughs and says it's ridiculous. It's as if a human like him can do a favor for a god. Wow, but our guy is getting confident, says that you never know, maybe he'll be surprised. The god responds that everything is fine then. He seemed very confident for a human. If that was the case, he wanted him to bring a golden apple. If he got one without dying, he would be worthy of knowing what the slimes are planning. Lucy says immediately that it's not possible, and it was good that he didn't agree. Golden apples were extremely rare and only grew on Gaia's trees. Among the gods, it was normally a gift for a wedding. But he covers her mouth, because he seems to have remembered something, and asks Atlas if that's all he wants. I'm calling him God, but I forgot he's a Titan. And he tells our guy that he gives his Titan word. But our guy tells him to swear by the river Styx. I had to take a look here in mythology. Basically, when a god swears by this river, it goes wrong. He loses power for a while. The guy sticks out his little finger and says that he really is impressive, but he's not afraid, so he swears by the river. At that moment, our guy picks up his cell phone and says that now he can't go back. Wow, a golden apple costs 1 point. The guy is screwed because he can buy this easily in the shop. He spends 1 point and one appears in his hand. He already shows it to the god, saying that here is his request. Atlas is there with a dumbfounded look, saying that this jerk must be kidding him. Meanwhile, in the area outside the cave, it was full of purple slimes going here and there. Hercules was killing everything that was coming out and wondering how long Radium and Lucy would take. That's when he starts to wonder if he mentioned the existence of Atlas. He turns around, saying that it doesn't matter, and eventually they'll find out. When suddenly, a blue glow appears on his back. It was someone coming up on his motorcycle at 1,000 miles per hour. Wow, now his clothes managed to merge with the motorcycle, making a combination, and he arrived there quickly. Hercules is already congratulating him until he sees the wheel in his face. It looks like our guy arrived hitting the god. He makes that dumbfounded face, but I think it was on purpose to get revenge. A few moments later, he throws his face on the ground, apologizing, saying that it was unintentional. Hercules says he doesn't care. It's not like the guy could hurt him in any way. Our boy, however, tells him that his face doesn't look very good with his face all deformed. Hercules says he's 100%. It's as if he's hurt. Then he crosses his arms and says that he took so little time that he's sure he didn't get any information. It really was a suicide mission. Remembering Hercules, he's sure that that jerk is angry from the day he went there and stole a bunch of golden apples. That's evil, stealing golden apples from the guy who can't let go of the ball on his back. Hercules then says that everything is fine since he made an effort. There would be no punishment until our guy reveals that the guy actually said everything. The god doesn't seem to believe it, but our guy already goes with his hand on his back and pulls out a golden apple, saying that thanks to this, the guy told everything. We're then back in the cave at the moment he took out the apple, and Atlas was scared, wanting to know how the human had one of those. Our guy is honest and says that you can buy one of these with a click in the store. Atlas tells him to hand over the apple, to which our guy responds with a no. He says he's afraid of being deceived, so the guy would have to pass on the information first, and then he hands it over. When the Titan says that this was not agreed upon, our guy already goes to take a bite back from the present. He says that this is how he got all the information from that guy. Hercules is thinking that the guy really isn't just any human. It's no wonder he messed with his mentor's leg. The only problem is that this disrespectful attitude was making him remember when he himself was younger. So, he tells our guy to pass on the information from Atlas quickly. Our guy says that everything the jerk said was a kind of enigma, everything has to be deciphered, so he didn't understand much. Then he says that the guy said, "The ground will be divided into 7 sections. Blue flames will shine here and there." Apparently, it's something very serious because Hercules is sweating cold. Things were worse than he imagined, and just as he was sure, these creatures come from another world. What he didn't want was for it to be exactly from that place. Now he's remembering that Radium is one of the few people he knows who can move between the world of humans and the world of mythology. Was it really destiny that he ended up with a normal nymph by his side? For him, the 3 goddesses who weave destiny really are cruel and beautiful, and they don't understand why they put such a heavy mission on the shoulders of a young human boy. Wow, now I'm also curious. Then our guy sticks out his hand, and Hercules asks what it was. Obviously, Radium says he doesn't want to have to repeat it because it should be very clear what he wants. He has finished the delivery, so it was time for payment. Sometime later, on top of the carcass of the creatures, Hercules was there thoughtfully when someone arrived and asked what he thought of the guy now that he saw him in person. It was Hermes who was there next to him, waving, saying that he had just arrived. As soon as the 2 left, Hercules communicates with him in a respectful way. However, Hermes says that this is not necessary. Even so, the buff guy says that he can't treat him in an inferior way because he helped a lot in the 12 labors. Eris still insists that he doesn't want to chat. Also, he was supposed to stop ignoring Ares. Urkos responds that he doesn't care and that guy is always looking for a fight and disrespecting him, and that's why he's not going to talk to him anymore. The guy says that he really can't make friends and asks if he's still fighting with Atlas. To which Hercules responds that he's not going to go down there to apologize to that jerk. Then Worms asks if the place that Atlas described to the guy is the one they are thinking of. Hercules repeats that enigma about the ground opening in 7 parts with fire and says that he's sure because the prophecy speaks about it. The guy raises his staff to fly away and says that if that's the case, they'll have to prepare. He says he'll warn them, but Hercules tells him not to worry because he knows that the guy is to blame. However, Herm just tells him to stay calm, that his messenger is his function. With that, he says goodbye for him to say hi to the old man. With that, Hercules activates his aura and looks at the creatures that appeared, saying that now the moment has come to resolve these. With Lucy sleeping, our guy pulls the blanket, spins the poor girl. She gets up all twisted, asking for 5 more minutes. However, he tells her to get ready soon, that it was time to leave. She wants to know where they are going so early because our guy warns that today is the day of the hunter exam. She is still all messed up, saying that she heard him talk about something like that, but she has no idea what a hunter exam is. He says she is silly to have asked to go without even knowing what it is, because she responds that staying at home is always a bore. He has already prepared the bag with registration card, some materials, and the wooden paddle. There she is with broom hair, saying that she is ready too. Okay, here's the translated text, adjusted for a US English audience. Okay, so he's just got a cap on his head and tells him to hurry up and go to the association. They're both arriving, just keeping an eye on the various hunters, who are obviously extremely stylish, while our poor kid just looks like a normal person under his hoodie. But we can see that the sneaky guy came prepared. A guy with a microphone announces that the exams are about to begin, and those cards that were called out are for skipping the line. The first guy already has a huge axe in his hand, face to face with 3 goblins who attack him. He stretches out, giving them a solid hit right in the middle. Our guy thinks 3 goblins is pretty weak, so maybe it's some kind of precaution. He thinks this is too easy because even a common person could kill 3 goblins easily. If that's the case, he believes the test isn't about if you can kill them, but how you can kill them. That's when they call number 38, which is our guy. Apparently, there's a huntress in the UFC ring already in the octagon. Our guy says that the plan is to pass easily without attracting too much attention. However, he activated his suit and, right there in the middle of the people, there's a red-haired recruiter. I don't think that's the girl from the enemy guild. Is it? Maybe it's her. She was dangerous. Oh crap, change chapters. And then it was another person. Show me Rajum already. The guy who smashed the goblins in a brawl. Everyone's saying he's incredible, but the chubby Doritos eating guy says, okay, he looks strong, but he's still missing that detail that every hunter needs, The blonde guy says he agrees. Maybe they're missing that candidate that really grabs your attention. Then the redhead tells those two old guys to be quiet. But Oscar is also saying that these guys don't even deserve to be hired by a second-tier guild. The redhead really is Jahan, who made all that mess with the Black Dragon Guild. You can see that this world is really lawless. The girl killed a bunch of hunters, screwed everyone over, and she's just there calmly judging the next ones. She's wondering how she got to this level. Not long ago, the Black Dragon Guild was the second best in the country. She, with her dragon tattoo on her thigh, was extremely influential. But after that controversial incident with the 8 trigrams, they lost a lot of supporters, and now she's there recruiting new members. "Recruit me!" she sighs, saying that at least she hopes to find someone half-decent. That's when it's candidate number 38's turn. Lucio was there from afar, cheering on our guy, who was all twisted up. He wants to pass this, but he doesn't want to attract attention because that would only complicate things. The goblins come to attack while the plan in his head is to not attract attention. The problem is that the suit activates danger detection. He dodges at the last second. He starts to notice that at the same time, these guys are much slower than those Syria he faced. He could even dodge without the help of the suit. The dangerous redhead is there saying that the movements of number 38 are interesting. At the same time, she seemed to notice that there was something familiar about this guy. So far, Run hasn't attacked. He's just dodging with ease. After showing a little, he decides that it's time to just give a little punch to kill without attracting attention. However, as soon as his hand touched the creature, it was disintegrated in front of him. Instantly, the woman recognized that was what she was looking for. A little after the test, someone is already congratulating our guy and even handed him his badge. Apparently, he got the 3rd highest score ever recorded. "I'm sure you'll be one of the best hunters in the world," and congratulates our guy. Radium is thinking that this process to become a hunter was kind of anticlimactic, while Lucio congratulates him, saying that he was incredible, but now it's time for them to go eat something. He grabs him and says that they're going to eat pork when someone appears and says that it's a pleasure to meet him. She comes all red with her red hair and her red eye, introducing herself as Jahan from the Black Dragon Guild. Our guy recognizes the beautiful curves and knows very well that this woman is dangerous. She said that she watched his battle and was impressed with his skills and wants to know if he's wanting to join the Black Dragon. Before she finished speaking, he already passed by, saying that he's good. The woman was shocked, told him to wait, but our guy just said that he appreciated the offer, but he has no interest in any guild. However, she couldn't miss this opportunity. She needed someone like that to put the guild back on top. Without options, she offers $5 billion, about $5 million, and will still give him a bonus. Suddenly, Radium stops, and she wonders if it worked. He comments about the value, and she's there saying that it's exactly that value. She's sure that this is enough for the guy not to refuse. However, with a face of, "Are you serious?" he turns around and asks if the Black Dragon is really that broke. Lucio completes, saying that apparently what they call a cheapskate. He kept walking, and she ran after him, cursing, saying that he wouldn't find any offer better than this. Radium just responded that he already had a better offer. He reveals that the Senge Guild offered $20 billion, and she freezes. He leaves, leaving her destroyed on the ground. Sometime later, he had already arrived with Lucy at the restaurant. On TV, they were already giving news about a promising hunter who had appeared. He's impressed that it's been an hour since he passed the test, and there's already a report. He looks at the menu and tells Luo to order, and then calls the waiter. But at the same time, someone already brings the dish ready. Air Song Jun, saying that the portions there really arrive fast and are delicious. Jun just asks if the guy is going to keep following him because Jun says that he would never follow a colleague. He was just walking around randomly and ended up finding him. The protagonist says that if he came there to talk about joining the guild, he should forget it because he has no intention of that. Sun Jun is going to comment about him passing the hunter exam, but our guy just says that one thing has nothing to do with the other. All he's trying to avoid is a headache, so no way he's going to join the guild and attract even more attention. That's when S. Jun says that he's misunderstanding. He's not there to recruit him, but to hire the guy as the divine deliverman. He explains about the story of the item that has to be delivered to Japan in 2 days. The problem is that there are some very dangerous women stealing the delivery items. Our guy says that really making deliveries is what he does best, even though he doesn't like to brag. With that weird face of his, he says that the price isn't cheap. Siem tells him not to worry, that he's sure that the offer will meet expectations. Upon seeing it too, our guy thinks it's 200 million, but Sunday reveals that it's 2 billion. Obviously, at the same time, he's already with his head on the table, telling him not to worry, that the delivery would be well done. While Lucio eats, Sejun says that he trusts the guy's delivery skills a lot. The scene changes to an apartment. A girl on the floor says that she just has to give the order. Hermes! Wow, the little rascal is doing something naughty, kids. I'm here 2 days after I was recording that part before because I had a really bad throat. I'm still not 100%, I'm like 70%, but let's give it a go. We're back here in the next scene. We're on a boat full of containers. Lucio is impressed, and our guy says that everything there belongs to the Yen 1 Guild. He never imagined he would be in a place like this. This was more like an escort than a delivery. At that moment, 2 guards came in front and told him to show his identification. Our boy just pulled out the shiny black card and said that he came through the Yan Guild. The moment the guardian saw that it was the VIP, he just let him pass. Some time later, they were there in the middle of the boat, impressed with the size. Lucio said that it was big, but not as big as the Argonauts company. He gives a laugh, saying that that damn thing is all proud of Olympus. That's when he goes face to face with a container with a mega security lock. It was more than obvious that the sword was there. Stood out a lot. However, as soon as he does the verification and the door opens, he understands why they didn't even bother hiding it. The sword was protected by a lot of chains and everything else. He finds it strange that some bandit would really have the courage to try to steal something like that. Lucio seems surprised, and he asks if she knows this weapon. The woman knows everything and says yes, that was the legendary sword of Durandal. He says that her knowledge is impressive, and before she speaks, he says that he already knows that she's a mega elite nymph. She wants to know what they're going to do, and our guy explains that they have to stay there and guarantee that the sword will arrive at its destination. The problem is that he's getting sleepy, but he can't risk losing the 2 billion. It may seem like a lot for a single delivery, but if he lets the sword be stolen, he'll have to pay for the value, which is much more than that. At that moment, he hears a horn, and the little boat trip was about to begin. At that moment, a strange gas began to spread through the container from the outside. The guardians with the crossfire weapons were very calm until the gas hit their noses. They went face first on the floor in a second. There were several weapons there to fight, and that's when the new, very dangerous girl in tight clothes arrived with my little star in her eye, all cute. She said that phase 1 was complete. Inside the container, our guy had fallen asleep until a flick came and hit the poor guy on the forehead. Lucio told him to wake up soon. Our guy was scared that he fell asleep like that. He then says that a strange smoke began to spread and everyone on the boat is sleeping. At the time he covers his nose and asks if this gas is the one that puts you to sleep. No, it's the gas that sets fire to your hum. He looks at the sword, which thankfully was still intact. What he's finding strange is that using the suit he should be immune to this effect, so maybe it's a secret ability of the bandit. Opening the door, he wonders who that person is with their hands crossed. The crazy woman was praying, asking the gods to give her the strength to be an honest thief tonight. Our boy already knows that this one is a clown and tells the store to open to buy something, with the certainty that if he catches this one, the delivery is probably guaranteed. However, it was at that moment that the little bandit got up. At that moment a green flash passed and a rope wrapped around her arm. She was startled and soon realized that it wasn't just any rope, but something that was holding her as if it were a spider web. When she turned around, our guy said that apparently he managed to catch the little thief. What he had bought at the store was an arachne rope that was strong. It held but the person with a lot of strength breaks. The girl is already crying on the floor, saying that that was created by her god. So how come he's not sleeping? He just gives the fool a tap on the head and says that for a clumsy bandit she asks a lot. The girl still says that she's not a bandit. She asks to be released so she can explain why she needs to recover this. Raijin, however, says that he wasn't born yesterday and of course she's there to steal from the guilds. She says that she accepts the title of bandit but only steals what needs to be stolen and everything she does is for a greater good. He laughs and she asks if he doesn't know the story of Robin Hood. Honest bandit, she was the same. She was just taking things from people who have a lot to give to those who have little. Clearly our Guy and Lucy aren't very moved by this story. He even says that the girl needs professional help and Luce comments that some humans are really weird. Suddenly, however, she screams and says that he has to believe because she was sent by Hermes to recover these items. This sword needed to be returned to its true owner so that they could prepare for the threats that were arriving. At the time our Guy is surprised and Luo already comments that maybe this girl is an emissary of that god. What our boy is thinking is that this poor girl is kind of messed up to be an emissary. He then tells her to explain what that threat is, what she's referring to. Suddenly she pulls an orb in her mouth and says that it wasn't supposed to be used like this, however the only option and at the time is that he would pay a high price for having interfered. A purple smoke spreads in the ship and obviously as soon as it goes down she fled already swimming. She says that this was a waste since these pills cost a fortune. What she used was an elixir of the astral form that allowed her to stay in the astral form. That's it, and she swears that she will take revenge on that damn tight clothes. To be honest, her clothes are tighter than his and the name of the legend is Sue. One Choi. She appears in the sea saying that it was close and now the listy is over while she remembers our Guy saying that she wants to end the Rasta of that dam. That's when a message appears asking if the mission was a success. She thanks Hermes and says that it was close but she got the item he asked for. She had managed to steal the Ring of Dissipation, a legendary artifact that existed in the stories of King Arthur. Hermes tells her to explain what happened and she immediately tells that she used the gas he gave her, however one person was not affected. The god replies that it is impossible for something like that to happen and tells her to explain who that person was. She says that it was a guy with tight hero clothes and a rope that looked like a mythical item that caught her at the time. Hermes says that this person seems familiar and asks if there was a child next to her. She says yes. An adorable little girl with sky blue hair, however she is confused how he got it right so accurately. Apparently that guy was really important in this. Ares says that he was laughing with this coincidence, however says, okay, here's the translated text, adjusted for natural flow in US English. Don't worry, that person was chosen. They're relieved to know everyone's in the same boat. They pause for a second and realize they'll see each other again. She's going to have to teach him to respect his elders. Meanwhile, our Guy received his $2 million, just like the guild predicted. A peculiar person showed up and everything went haywire, but Durandal arrived safely in Japan, so his part was done. At least the apartment's paid for now. He says he's going to visit Ephesos because it's been a while since he's seen that guy. Plus, he's curious what he can do with the scale he got from the Hydra. The scene changes to Ephesos' place with our Guy at the door asking if he's there. His jaw drops because the guy isn't showing up and the lights are off. Of course, Lucio tells them to just leave and get something to eat. But then someone calls out on the radio. When he turns around, he gets a shock. It was Ephesos, and just by his expression, he knows someone dangerous is coming. He turns to the high-level girl and tells her that's the divine deliverer. We already knew the dame was trouble. She says hi to our little Guy. The artist is getting used. Ephesos introduces her as Freya, the leader of the Valkyries, who even taught magic to Odin, the supreme god of Norse mythology. But our Guy misunderstands and thinks his friend is cheating on his wife with her. He grabs the dwarf by the collar, asking if he thinks he's Zeus. It's not until Ephesos explains that she's just a client there to request his services that he calms down. The girl just laughs, saying apparently she's a peculiar person if he thought she was having an affair with Ephesos. Man, I think that was a diss. The dwarf doesn't seem bothered, and our Guy's face-planting, apologizing. Then she tells them to get straight to business and says she wants him to deliver this letter. The mission was to deliver the letter to the owner of Hell High and find out what strange situation is happening in Valhalla. He had 120 hours to complete it and would earn 500,000 points. He comments on the confusing name while Lucio is trembling. She explains that this place is known as the afterlife in Norse mythology. It's the realm of the dead. She's sure it's going to be extremely risky, like a good, Rich scoundrel, now that Radium has a lot of money, he doesn't want to risk it too much. What if he dies with all that money in his account? Even if he retired today, he'd have enough money to take care of him and Lucio. This is tough. The dwarf comments that hell must be dangerous for him. When our boy says no, he'll accept for sure. No way he was going to refuse 5 billion like that. While he's there saying this job is going to be extremely well done, Lucio kicks him in the back, telling him to stop only thinking about making money. Next scene. We're on a mountain with a green lake, Radium speeding on his little motorcycle. The place had an extremely weird feeling, probably because it's the afterlife. Lucio says he only accepted because he has no idea how dangerous the places in Norse mythology are. Our guy, however, comments that she used to be quieter. Could she go back to being quiet? But she replies that it's his fault, since every time they go out to make a delivery, she feels like she's lost a year of her life. In Norse mythology, Valhalla was a sacred place where warriors who died in battle would go. On the other hand, Helheim was where ordinary people and those without honor ended up. Wow, now it's explained why everyone wants to fight. Either you go to hell to be eaten by the devil, or you go to perfect heaven. It's 880. Huh? He remembers that Freya said it's been a while since there's been news from Hell High, so it must be all calm there and he doesn't need to worry. To be honest, I'd be even more worried about that. And now there are 10 minutes left for him to arrive. He was thinking it was super cool having to cross a little bridge on the motorcycle, but in the middle of the crossing, he felt something strange and his heart tightened. The air in that place was completely different, and it was like his whole body was frozen. Lucio says she can't move, and he realizes the same thing is happening to both of them. That's when someone on the side says it's incredible to see a living soul crossing the bridge of hell. What's more, a woman. This author is messing with us. He pretends he's not messing with us, but the boy is. The giant woman is staring at our guy, saying there's something strange about the two of them. She wasn't smelling death on the girl, but the guy, on the other hand, had already died once. He gets a little confused and tells her to repeat that. Now I'm confused too. Our boy is an incarnate. Not even he knew it from the beginning. Apparently, here comes a sad backstory. I'm already bitter. Obviously, our guy was on his little motorcycle on a rainy day. He knew very well that making deliveries in this climate was a recipe for disaster. But the owner of his apartment kept sending messages saying he was going to be evicted if he didn't pay the month's bill. Our boy's only option was to keep making deliveries nonstop until suddenly a car cut him off. Our boy was quick, threw the motorcycle onto the sidewalk, and avoided the worst. Of course, he was angry at the guy and went to yell at him. But right then, he noticed the deliveries he was supposed to make had all fallen on the ground. He noticed he was even more screwed since now he was going to have to cover the cost of it. But just when he was typing on his cell phone, a horn came in the middle of the rain. The truck didn't see him and the truck hit him. That's how our dear Radium died at 27 years old. Why put a drooling photo on the screen? I don't know, but that's how it was. Back in the present, he says the woman must be trying to kill him with a heart attack, that's for sure. But she just says he stinks of rotting flesh and it's ridiculous to say he never died. That's when Lucio says that because he visited Tartarus, maybe the smell of death has become ingrained, just like whoever lives in the land of the nymphs smells like fresh water. But the nymphs that live in the land of fish smell like him, and the ones that live near the waterfalls smell like moss. Even though Tartarus and Helheim were from different mythologies, both were the place of the dead. Our boy starts smelling himself. He doesn't smell any death, but then he remembers that in the cave, the Hydra said she could smell the scent of spirits on him. That's when the woman says she understands. She heard about the mortal who met Hades in the depths of Tartarus. If that's the case, he must know very well who she is, the person with the obligation to take care of the crossing first. Of course, our guy doesn't know. Second, now I'm confused. Was that flashback fake, or did he die or not die? Lucio then says there's only one person who holds that title, the person responsible for taking care of the bridge, known as the Warrior of Rage. She's sure the woman's name is Modgud. What a horrible name. The woman congratulates her for knowing the other titles and then asks why they want to pass through this place. Honestly, Lucio only reveals that Freya asked them to deliver this letter to Hel. As soon as she hears the Valkyrie's name, Modgud says she understands. If it was because of Freya, then she would authorize them to pass. Our guy kept going. He thought it was weird that it was so easy, but it's better than being difficult. It was good to speed up this motorcycle and cross this bridge before she changed her mind. From afar, Modgud thinks she never imagined that woman would send a mortal and a nymph. For sure, the two had a very difficult journey ahead. Our guy keeps speeding up and seems to finally be arriving at the so-called hell, but from one second to the next it got extremely cold, and the boy even had frozen phlegm. Lucio also sneezed and smeared the poor guy, remembering Freya and getting angry that that damn woman didn't warn them to wear warmer clothes. Lucio says she remembers now that the place is extremely cold since the dead don't feel cold. He asked why the jerk didn't warn them before. She explains that she can't remember. It wasn't like he knew everything he learned in school either. She told him to stop complaining and just buy something at that special little store with the grumpy face. He opened the store. Unfortunately, this was the best option anyway. There was a baby wolf fur coat there, but the thing cost 200,000 points. At least the thing provided exceptional warmth and kept the person warm even in the coldest possible conditions. He thinks it's ridiculous to spend 200,000 when his motorcycle cost 100,000, but it's the only option. He makes the purchase, loses 200,000. At least he still has 600,000. Okay, he put on the clothes, saying that now he'll have at least 500,000 when he finishes the mission. Looking back, he sees that Lucio is all in a little jacket too. Happy. He's impressed. He didn't think she'd buy one for herself too, imagining that it must be like the helmet effect. People close to him are also kind of involved in the area of action. Next scene. Speeding on the motorcycle, saying that now that they don't feel cold, they'll finish this as quickly as possible. But sometime later, he was still in the middle of the blizzard that seemed to be getting worse. He's managing to stay warm thanks to the jacket, but the motorcycle can't handle it and is slowing down. Not only that, but he's not sure if there will be time to do this, as the map has stopped working. That's when they stop behind a rock, because if they kept going, they'd end up being buried by the snow. That's what Lucio said, but he told her to stop being dramatic because he only stopped there for his cell phone to start working again. Man, the boy is worried about the deliveries. He still has 41 hours to deliver, and he's already desperate. It's a long delivery indeed. He saw on the map that they'll arrive just in time if nothing stops them. That's when Lucio calls him. He says he's not stupid enough to fall asleep like that, but actually, she's pointing and saying something strange is approaching. He comes out from behind the little rock to take a look and feels the footsteps. Man, I thought it was going to be a yeti or something, but there's a buff guy in swim trunks running calmly in this cold. He calls to the two of them, telling both of them to run or they won't get out alive. He was being chased by a bunch of wolves, and now Radium is angry that this jerk brought the wolves to them. The guy is in the pursuit, the guy is running for his life, and our boy is speeding on the motorcycle at 1,000. He's gonna say something to the buff guy, who asks him not to talk to him since it was difficult to keep breathing while fleeing. But our guy is impressed that this guy is keeping side by side with the motorcycle in turbo mode. That's when he and Lucio complain to the jerk, wanting to know why he brought these wolves. The guy said he was anxious to say hi since from the moment he arrived in this place, he only sees wolves and snow. This doesn't please our duo, who thinks this reason is ridiculous, and Lucio immediately tells him to turn to the other side and be eaten by the wolves alone. But right then, our guy found a cabin in the middle of this whole storm. It was a chance to recover, so he entered with the motorcycle through the gate. The weirdo came running on his back, telling him to wait a little bit. However, Radium was seeing the wolves chasing this crazy guy and was afraid to let him in and end up being caught too. And without any pity, he closed the door on the sucker's face without any mercy. The guy was still thinking that he gave the guy he just met a chance to gain a point with the team, but the guy shouted, saying that he understood everything wrong. If he thinks he was going to die like this, the weirdo had already jumped 30 meters over the wall. Lucio's face looks like she took a punch in the head and went bug-eyed. The guy then falls in front of Radium and tells him not to be so impressed. There was no obstacle in this world that a real man can't overcome. The jerk is a Sigma, or is he an Alpha? And our boy is impressed with this speech like the guys who watch Red Pill videos. He starts walking in the direction of the two, saying he's going to introduce himself. However, our boy isn't very interested and says they don't need to get so personal. But the guy introduces himself anyway as a descendant of Odin, the wise and powerful father of all the creatures in this world. His name was Sigurd, an esteemed warrior of the Volsung family. With no other option, our guy says it's a pleasure to meet him. The guy replies that it's a pleasure too. However, Lucio, as always, knows everything. That jerk had never heard of him. He's not with a glowing zoom there, the child. She says he's the legendary hero famous for killing Fafnir. Man, if he killed that dragon naked, the guy is brave indeed. And Lucio says that's his title, the Dragon Slayer. The shameless guy is all glowing there, saying these legends are too much. He doesn't need to be put on a pedestal. However, our guy has already noticed that this jerk likes attention. That's when the guy tells them not to stay there in the cold and come into the house. Our boy is afraid because he doesn't know who lives there. However, the guy only replies that it would be idiotic to stay in the cold waiting to be eaten by the wolves. At least with all this escape, Radium sees that their delivery isn't that far away anymore. Maybe it would be good to rest a little. Already inside the cabin with a pot on the fire, he wants to know the story of the two and why they're there. Our boy only says that he's making a delivery to someone who lives very far away. The guy gets a little confused, saying that it's the first time a deliverer has come to this place. That's when our guy comments about the wolves and asks why he didn't finish them off if he's the Dragon Slayer. Lucio says that it would really make much more sense for him to show his power and finish off the creatures. The guy says they're forgetting that at this moment they're in Helheim, where the dead reside. How are you going to kill a creature that's already dead? With no option to kill the creatures, the best that's left is to flee, and that's what he did. That's when the guy asks what he's delivering and to whom. He knows Helheim very well and can end up being able to help the boy. Lucio is all smiles there, saying that if it's Sigurd, she trusts him. Then he says that they're there to deliver a letter that came from Freya and she said it was urgent. He gives a, okay. Here's the English translation of the text, adjusted for clarity and naturalness in American English. The guy looks at the seal and immediately believes it's true. He says the kid should have warned them it was something so important. Our guy replies that a naked lunatic running around in the snow doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Just then, they hear a strange noise outside. The wolves have finally broken through the gate. Man, they came out in a pack. Actually, the whole pack approached. He tells our guy to escape through the back door, but our boy wants to know what he's going to do if the beasts don't die. Chad just tells him not to worry, that Dad's got this and everything will be all right. Man, the guy pulled out a glowing ball of energy, very anime-esque. The energy started to transform into a sword, and he called upon Graham, the Bane of Dragons. This dude could solo any SS-rank dungeon without items. That was awesome. On the other hand, our guy is impressed by the enchantment he was using. This sword was the same one he used to defeat Fafnir. Sigurd raised the sword, which was covered in runes. The wolves approached, and he unleashed a slash in their direction. The energy from the attack swept away all the snow, and the wolves ceased to exist. Not a single bone was left to tell the tale. Our guy is standing there, impressed that everything vanished in one attack. Then Sigurd says that's not exactly the case. From beyond, the creatures start to reappear. Everything merges, forming a wolf much more powerful than before. Now it's clear to Radium why the guy said it was useless and dangerous to fight the creatures. Sigurd tells him to start running now, that he'll hold them off as long as he can. The creature comes in for an attack, and he manages to dodge, saying that even for him with 8 fusions, this won't be easy. At least he's hopeful that the delivery guy and the nymph can escape. Looking back, he sees the dude pulling out his Uzi, a 9mm, and shooting the wolf in the head. At that moment, he had reached 100% of his power, for some reason. The attack hits the beast squarely in the head. The explosion obliterates the area. When it clears, he's standing there, shocked by his own power. Sigurd is confused. For him, the hell wolves couldn't be killed. It's the first time he's seen a creature attacked in this place and truly disintegrate. Our boy is confused, looking at his stick, and the guy wants to know if this kid is really the mortal. Then Sigurd asks what he did, and Radium explains that he hit it with his stick. Obviously, the god replies he can see that with his own 2 eyes. He wants to know why a creature that can't die is disappearing. Our guy is ignoring what the guy is saying and is already imagining himself as a top-tier hunter with Sherlock Holmes-level deduction skills. Filled with envy. Lucio says that he killed the big guy, probably because of the power of the stick. He then talks about Baldur, Odin's second son. The god was killed by a weapon made from the branches of a mistletoe tree. The wood from this tree was known for its ability to harm even invulnerable creatures. What he was holding in his hand was called mistletoe. He knows that the ability to harm something invulnerable is an incredible power. If that sword he was escorting that day was worth 20 billion, what's this little twig worth that can kill immortal creatures? He's already happily waving the thing around, saying he can't wait to sell it and get rich. Sigurd tells him to stop waving that thing around because if it hits him, he'll die too. Remembering Ares, he says he has to apologize for calling that guy stingy. He's already on his moped, speeding up, saying that now he's confident. It's time to finish this delivery. The poor Sigurd is asking him to wait. Our guy tells him to wait for him at the arrival point. With that, turbo mode is activated. Suddenly, they're face to face with a staircase in a green place, a somewhat abandoned castle, and he didn't know this delivery point would be such a place. Lucio says it's her first time seeing the famous castle of Hell too. Then someone behind him tells him to wait. It was Sigurd, exhausted, arriving and saying it was too dangerous, even for him, to enter this place alone. Our guy asks why, and Sigurd says it's ridiculous to think you can just walk into this castle. Our guy asks why, but the god just says that if he values his life, he'll go back now. Just then, some guys appear on the staircase, wanting to know who they are and why they're there. Sigurd, somewhat disoriented, says hi to everyone. He then says that the kid is there to deliver a message from Freya. The guys say that's fine, they'll open the gate immediately. Our guy says it's easy with him in charge, to which Sigurd explains that the people there are trained to obey his commands. They're called the Garm, the lich force that guards Helheim, and the dude is their official commander. Once inside, our guy comments that the castle is actually pretty normal for a place in the underworld. Suddenly, Sigurd freezes at the sight of a girl in a maid outfit, known as the Walker, Ganglati, had appeared. Before he can open his mouth, she says she knows he's there with companions to deliver a letter from Freya. He's going to ask to be escorted, but she says that's already been decided. They walk down the corridors, and he asks Lucio if this woman is a goddess or a hero from mythology. Annan explains that she's neither a goddess nor a hero, but has been serving hell for a very long time. She then tells Ganglati that it's amazing that she's managed to serve the same goddess for so long and even asks for some tips. But the maid remains silent. Lucio gets angry, but what she doesn't know is that the woman is ecstatic at how cute the girl is. Suddenly, they arrive in front of a door, and she announces that hell is inside. Sigurd says that now he's on his own. He has to remember to deliver the letter before leaving. The door then opens. Our guy is getting scared. The feeling was different from any god he's encountered, since she was the owner of the underworld. As they enter, Ganglati announces that she's brought the visitors. She giggles and says that both have a peculiar aura of someone who is neither alive nor dead. Apparently, he's the person who's been causing trouble in Helheim. Our boy immediately says that he's just there to deliver the letter and leave right away. The letter is snatched from his hand and ends up in the little hand of the lowly. Since she's the owner of the underworld, I thought a dangerous woman would come, but it was just a whatever. She immediately wants to know if everything written there is true. Radium explains that he has no idea what's written, since the only mission he received was to deliver it. He wants to know why the curiosity. Lucio says that you can't say something like that to this goddess. He then leaves her little throne there and says that the boy is brave. Normally, people are afraid of her just because of that. She's going to answer the question since he seems so curious. She explains that there's an invasion of Valhalla going on, and the invaders are pretending to be coming from Helheim. However, this is clearly orchestrated by someone else, since she never gave such an order. She knows that in all of space and mythology, there's only one race that would be capable of going against fate in this way. Then, There's that enigma on the floor that divides into 7 sections, and the little fires flicker here and there. She says she knows very well who's behind this. Our boy is already somewhat disappointed to see that the owner of hell is a little girl, and now it's explained why Ganglati goes to so much effort to continue working there. Some time later, she's already sitting on the throne, asking if they've gone. Ganglati confirms and says that she's opened a portal for them to go straight to Olympus. Hell is saying that Freya's sense of humor is peculiar, sending a human to the realm of the dead. Ganglati confirms that that guy isn't just anyone, but is known as the divine delivery guy. It seems he has a reputation with the mythological creatures and is collecting points as payment. She's there thinking about our boy and says she understood. At least she'd managed to confirm the existence of those things thanks to him. She then tells Ganglati to prepare for them to leave, which she gets a little confused about, but Hel then says that this time she's personally going to participate in the journey. Back with Hephaestus, he asks if he's sure that's what she said. Maybe he misunderstood something. Our boy says no, and Lucio confirms that she was right there. Freya is there saying that prophecy of the 7 floors again, saying that she never imagined something like this would happen. Our boy is curious to know why everyone is so serious. He remembers that when he mentioned this to Hercules too, his expression changed immediately. Freya gives a, "I gotta go," and says she'll be back later to pick up the item because this is more urgent. She wishes she hadn't heard about any of this, but now that she knows, she has an obligation to pass this information on. She doesn't understand, however, how it got to this point and how no one noticed. Maybe there was someone purposefully hiding the truth, doing everything behind the scenes like in Ragnarok. Suddenly, our boy grabs Sal's shoulder with a dumbfounded look, wanting to know if she isn't forgetting anything. Hephaestus says he's crazy to stop her there, but our guy says there's no way he's going to let this goddess leave without giving him his payment. This time, the goddess didn't turn around happily and said that he was insolent, asking how a mere mortal put his hand on her without permission. The air became heavy, and our boy was trembling in the cold. However, even so, he said that there was no way he wasn't going to receive payment after the effort of delivering this. He did the money or revolt dance, go figure, this guy has mental problems too. In the end, Lucio says that studies indicate that if you do this pose with someone who doesn't want to pay you, it increases the chance of receiving the money by 99%. He then comments about the payment, and her expression changes, saying that she had really forgotten. With that, the dude not only earned $500,000 but also a tip of $250,000. Now he has 1,000,000 points. Man, the boy is really becoming a millionaire. Lucio gives a flying double-foot kick to the back of Lucio, saying that he really is a money maniac. Freya laughs, saying that these two are messy. She then says she's leaving and apologizes for getting stressed out. Hephaestus stays there talking to the boy, who doesn't know if he's an idiot or ignorant. He asks what he did, and the guy says to forget it. A real man has to have courage like that. Our boy says he wants to ask something. He wants to know about that prophecy of the 7 seas appearing that everyone who finds out seems to get scared. Even when he told Hercules, the guy got scared. Hephaestus is confused that the boy had already talked to Hercules. Sometime later, he explained everything that happened, and the little dwarf shouts, saying that he should have talked about this before. Our boy replies that he didn't ask, and besides, he doesn't even know how to get to that place. Hephaestus is thinking that it's no wonder there's going to be a meeting of all the gods soon. It's definitely to discuss this. This meeting was known as the Council of the Olympians. The last time this happened was 389 years ago, and now it's explained why he was called again. Our boy asks again about the prophecy, and the guy just tells him to forget everything he heard. The simple fact that he knows what he already knows is extremely dangerous, so it was good for him not to ask more about it. The curious dude says he doesn't understand very well, creates more information, but the guy only says that it's an issue that only a god can solve. If fate wanted, he would eventually learn, since he's always navigating between the realms. However, if he values his life, it was better to avoid getting any information about it. The little dwarf is there thinking that it would be much better if he didn't even know anything. Sometime later, back in the city, Lucio is telling him to open the door for them to enter and rest soon, and our boy is there putting in the password. They're finally back home, happy as can be. The apartment that they had made those advances on finally came out. They have a fancy place to live. Our boy is there thinking that now that all the furniture from the old owner is gone, he finally feels like the true owner of this. Lucio is there shouting that she wants her room, but our boy says that the biggest room will stay with him. She warns that it won't be resolved like that. Not fair, so rock, paper, scissors. However, he just grabs her by the arm and says that no way, it's his, bye. He decided that it would be a good idea to buy new furniture and went towards the door, and at that moment someone knocked. He was confused, even because he had just arrived, so who already knows his address? He grabbed the doorknob and told the person to wait, and as soon as he opened it, it was Aries coming to give a cake to our boy, all lovely. He asks what she's doing there, and at that moment Lucio remembers her from the dungeons. That's when he remembers that she was really going to live next to him, and now it makes sense. Well, he already knew this, I didn't know he knew. She's there holding a big cake and says that all of that is for the divine delivery guy. He picks it up, asks what it is, and she says that it's a rice cake. Rice cake from where I come from is very different, right? However, I'm not Korean to know what TR is, if it's good. Apparently, she was already wanting to have a welcome party with our boy, but the damned refused, saying that he had just arrived, so it's not a good time for that. The poor thing was there thinking that she did want to have the party while Lucio was famished, wanting to know if all this big cake was made to be eaten. Before he could say anything, she grabbed it and ran away, saying that now it's hers, and she was there eating, saying that it's his fault since she didn't eat anything right today. However, as soon as she tastes it, she starts to vomit. He asks what it was, and she says that this thing is a mixture of the flavor of eating chocolate, drinking dirty water at the same time that you brushed your teeth. It's a description. Okay. Here's the translated and slightly adjusted text for YouTube, focusing on clarity and natural English. So, Erin messed up big time. She stole something that wasn't meant for her. Poor thing grabbed a piece and said she always thought mint chocolate was delicious. I gotta admit, I like it too. Mint chocolate ice cream is the best. I found it funny that she's just chilling at his place, sitting down, and he's wondering if she's going to explain why she's there. She then says the guild needs to investigate something, and Sun Jun asked her to talk to our boy. He realizes they're trying to recruit him as an investigator and wants to know what the offer is. She says he'll have to talk to the leader to find out the details. But our boy doesn't want to see Sun Jun again and asks her for an estimate of the payment. She gestures 2 billion. And he says prices are going up because he's becoming more professional. She holds up 4 fingers and says, for billion. Of course, his expression immediately changes, and he wants to know where this leader is so they can talk ASAP. Later, in a parking lot, he's in her car, thanking her for the ride. But Lucia says they were supposed to go furniture shopping today, not take on more work. He says he'll just hear the offer, and they can do that on the way back. She keeps complaining, saying the plan was to buy furniture and eat something good. Erin grabs a ticket and says she can use it to eat at the guild's cafeteria, which has a lot of good stuff. Lucia gets all excited like a kid getting a present. Then our guy looks back. The guild building is huge. No wonder they're the biggest in the nation. A while later, Sun Jun welcomes our guy with a big smile, apologizing for not bringing a gift. But our guy gets straight to the point. He doesn't have much time because his partner is annoyed and wants to leave. Sun Jun says that's fine and asks him to sit down. Our boy is still wary, thinking this guy is too friendly. Sun Jun explains some recent problems. It's about reevaluating the difficulty of certain dungeons. He explains to our guy, who already knows, that strange creatures appear out of nowhere and the difficulty spikes. People are avoiding dungeons, which is a problem because if no one clears them, a dungeon break is extremely dangerous. Our guy says he knows all about dungeon breaks, but he can't possibly solve a problem that big. Then our guy looks at the second page and says they must be joking. They want him to collect information about the Red Drake, the strongest level 7 creature in the country, which even all the ranked hunters together couldn't defeat. Angrily, our guy asks if they aren't the strongest and why they're sending some delivery guy to handle it. The leader explains they'll help him on the mission doing the easier tasks, and they want information on the Lizard King. Our boy shivers because apparently that's another terrifying boss. He says the guy is offering 4 billion to get him killed, which is ridiculous. But Sun Jun clarifies that 4 billion is for participating in the job. If he gets the information, he'll receive another 4 billion. Our boy asks if he'll double the offer. Sun Jun says yes, and they shake on it. Deal made. The scene changes to a strange lake with a rainbow. An old man with a golden staff looks at a horse-headed guy who arrives and says it's unusual for him to be late. The orange-haired guy says he encountered some problems on the way. He drops a purple worm on the ground and says he saw several of these creatures down there, which shouldn't be appearing in the Nordic regions. The old man says he didn't expect them to be so far already. Apparently, it's a faster virus than he thought. He knew the prophecy of the apocalypse had begun but had no idea it would be so sudden. The horse-headed guy says he's leaving because he has other things to do. Odin asked him to go to Helheim because something seems to be messing with Valhalla. The old man says he doesn't have to worry because Freya sent a Greek hero who already dealt with the situation. The horse-headed guy asks if it was Orpheus or Achilles. The old man says it's not an ordinary man like him. The guy wonders if this person is a god and why they are interfering with his work, if it's one of the Greek gods' boys. Meanwhile, our boy is all like, money is so good. The scene changes to the Gate of Tun. Radium is there, saying he swore he wouldn't get within a mile of this place, but here he is. Lucia excitedly asks if he's been here before. He says no, but he spent a month in a place worse than this dungeon. Lucia is impressed, saying she knew he wasn't ordinary. What kind of ordinary person spends a month in the most dangerous place? He says she has no idea about his life, but it's time for her to see. He pulls out his new motorcycle 2.0. Our guy will soon have a truck. Each evolution grows. This is the Moten, super resistant, forged with rare materials, and perfected by an artisan for a divine elite delivery guy. It's customized for him, reducing 90% of the damage he takes. He says Hephaestus fused it with something. I already imagine it's that Hydra scale. Ah, right, it's there in his hand. You're not smart, you're mentally ill. Just look at the image. Sorry. And now he's touching the bike, saying he didn't imagine it would be this awesome. The old bike was good, but he couldn't risk being paralyzed like when he was crossing the bridge. Still heading towards the portal, he says he's not afraid of anything now. It's time to take down that lizard king in the swamp. Our boy is passing through the swamp in his motorcycle, impressed with the upgrade. The wheels don't stop for anything. Lucia, on the other hand, is getting all muddy and dirty. Then he stops and they both get scared. In the middle of the dungeon is an entire city. What the F*******. Not just a city, but a luxurious one. Apparently, he knew this because he's thinking according to the records they gave me. He'll find the Lizard King after crossing these gates. But he finds it strange that no one is protecting anything. That's when a bunch of lizard men with spears appear. He curses, saying he shouldn't have said anything because they appeared. But when the first lizard man looks at the gate, there's nothing there. Our boy and Lucia are hiding, wearing helmets. Lucia comments on the lizard men. He says that's obvious and tells her to get out of his head. The fairy wants to know what they're going to do. He's going to destroy everything as usual. But Radium knows his mission this time isn't to kill anything, but to get information about the boss. At least this time, in theory, he doesn't need to risk his life in a life-or-death situation like before. He's going to locate the king, get information, and leave safely. Yeah, sure, that will happen. They passed the guards easily. The creatures were intelligent, but their senses weren't as sharp as he expected. He's feeling safe, saying even if things go wrong, he has money to spend in the store, buy something, and escape. But out of nowhere, a new delivery arrived in the middle of the dungeon. He's confused. He's on a mission, so why did this appear? That's when Lucia warns that the creatures are coming towards them. Our boy forgot to turn off notifications. You should turn on notifications on the channel. Don't turn them off. You're not in a dungeon. And he starts running, wondering what's happening. Then he stops, and Lucia asks what's wrong. He says she'll understand in a moment. A big lizard man comes to throw a spear, but our boy pulls out his phone. The creature stops because, strangely, A delivery mission for our boy came directly from the Lizard King. Even the Lizard Man is confused. Both the creatures and Lucia don't understand what happened. Radium finds it strange to receive a delivery from a monster and not a god. But to him, money is money. So he looks at the Lizard Man and says he's in a hurry. They can take him straight to the boss. The Lizard Men point somewhere, trembling. Radium was going to tell them to stop pointing at his face, but he didn't notice the giant shadow behind him. As soon as he feels the presence, he slowly turns around. Oh my God! The poor Lizard King is more messed up than us. Let's form this bond together. Our boy can only see that he has a crown on his head, but he doesn't look anything like the creature they described in the messages. The king is making noises like a snake with his tongue, but it's impossible to understand what he's saying. If there is something to solve the problem, it's money. It's just to buy a translator in the store, for example. Or even better, you can get it for free. Lucia offers to translate for our boy. He asks if she understands. She says yes. It's easy to master the language of the lizardmen because it's very simple. The king sends more sounds. He asks what he said. She says that many years ago a catastrophe fell on the kingdom of the lizardmen. A fierce invader destroyed these lands, from children to eggs to adults. No one was spared. Even the elders were massacred, and this entire kingdom was left in ruins. Radium already knows they want him to fight this invader. Our boy is quick, and by the brightness in the eyes of the poor things, they really want it. The guy entered the dungeon to hunt a cruel killer, and now these bastards look like zombies from Mario, with bright eyes begging our boy. Even our boy is wondering why this artist is drawing this bastard all cute. He then says his name is Jose, and he's just a delivery guy. He's not a powerful person, an incredible hunter. Lucia even translated what he said. If you save my kingdom, you will receive an unimaginably valuable treasure that only exists in the kingdom of the lizardmen. My throat is not yet 100% for these words, but it's obvious that Radium will accept everything. He is curious to know what exactly this treasure is. Lucia says the king is calling him to the throne to show exactly. And in front of him, the zombies are all kneeling and begging. And our boy now says, "Don't worry about what it is. He will kill this intruder." Later in the basement, our boy is saying these lizard men really have a lot of treasure. The bandit is arriving again, with that mouth of hers drawn with meat. She's saying that apparently there's a lot of stuff. She doesn't know if she chooses valuable things or simply empties the whole place. There are 10 seconds left for our boy to arrive in the same room. Our boy and Lucia have just stopped right in front of the door, and the rogue knows that for the door to be this size, there's good stuff inside. The king will arrive with 10 seconds of life that he has to try to open the door. Something shines golden and the door then opens. Our boy's mouth is open, but I think this place will be empty, you'll see. Actually not. Look, there's still plenty of treasure. The bandit is hiding there. He imagines that he has as much treasure as he saw in that Ares warehouse. And Lucia says that the king revealed that they took all this from the humans who kept invading this place and failing. The king is all proud, but our boy doesn't think that's pretty. He was going to say something about the treasure when something catches his attention. Something was Sonam there with several coins in her arms. She looks at the coins that fall to the ground making sound and sends a wave. "How are you, my boy?" The other lizard men stopped being zombies and got furious. Lucia translates, "Stop the bandit." But that's more than obvious. But this bandit is very useless. She's already immobilized. He wants to know how she got to this place this time. While Sonam is confused, she received a mission to take what was in this place. But she doesn't understand how again, out of nowhere, this guy appeared. She then looks at our boy and asks if Junior doesn't remember her. She says she's also working for Hermes and knows that he also works for that guy, so it was good for him to explain to these lizard men why she's there. Lucia says that the king wants to know if Radium really works with that girl. The poor guy, afraid of losing the money, says that he studied in a school only for men. He never had a female senior, so she's making up stories. Lucia wants to know why he's crying. He says that he would never cry just because he's losing money, and he then goes to her and says to stop acting like an idiot. He's not working for Hermes, which leaves the girl confused. She knows he's doing work that Hermes wants, so why doesn't Hermes tell the boy? Sonam then says that if he helps her get out of there, she'll do whatever he wants. Our boy will definitely ask her to somehow give him money. After thinking, he says everything's fine, makes an evil face and says he's going to ask for something, but she'll have to swear she'll do it on the river Styx. She says she swears by the river of Styx. I've aimed for a natural, conversational tone while preserving the original meaning. I hope this helps. Okay, here is the translated text, adjusted for natural English flow. Styx is crazy, but he only answers if you don't want him to. So, I'm gonna let the lizards cut your throat right here, and you can just rot in this place. Look at the blade real close to your neck. She says it's okay, and swears on the river Styx that if he helps her, Seun-cho, escape, she'll do anything he wants. He says that worked out then, and tells her to explain the situation to the king. A little while later, she's free and relieved she wasn't sliced up. So, she goes to thank Junior for his help, but he cuts her off. First, I'm not your junior. And second, you better be ready for what I'm going to ask you. Just like some of you watching this video, this girl has some interesting thoughts and is already imagining some pretty personal favors. But our boy would never ask for something like that, right guys? He's a good kid. That's why sometimes I have to bring in the works of my girlies, because we see a lot of protagonists who don't do anything afterwards. Gotta have one who does something to lighten the mood. But that's when the system screen pops up with a mission. Defeat the Crimson Invader of this kingdom and save the place from the lizards. Limit of 3 hours. He'd receive the treasure of the place. He's shocked because 3 hours is really short, considering the last time it was 50 hours. He got scared. Right away, he looks at Luce and says they have to run because they don't have any time to spare. He takes off running, but Seun wants them to wait. She's standing there thinking next to the king that this dude is ignorant and doesn't even let her finish talking. Strangely, the king is blushing next to her. That's peculiar. Meanwhile, our boy is already on his motorcycle going 1,000 miles an hour. He was 30 kilometers away. Man, this king really gave our guy very little time to get there. But getting there on time is the least of his problems. The question is, what's he going to do when he does get there? Luce tells him to ease up on the accelerator, but he says that's not possible. Suddenly, Seun appears out of nowhere in front of him, saying he seems to be having a little problem. He gets startled, not knowing how this girl appeared. He tries to brake and stops right next to her, immediately wanting to know why she's following him when he told her to stay put. The gal winks and says she can't leave him suffering like this after he saved her like that. He tells her to stop getting involved, because it's good to know that no matter what happens, he will ask for that favor. But she replies that she's sure he won't be in such a hurry when he hears what she has to say. She knows very well that the monster he has to hunt is the red drake. That's when our guy remembers that the red drake is the creature that Sunjun said was extremely scary, and he only had to get the information. He should have been smarter. Huh? It was obvious it was this creature. He wonders if Sunjun already knew about the connection between the red drake and the king since he asked him to look at the information on both. Looking at him, Seun isn't really keen on risking her life going against a creature like that. However, she doesn't have a choice since she needs to become a person he trusts in order to get a share of the treasure from that beast. So, she says that she knows the fastest way to the red drake and can guide the boy there. He responds, "I thought your only talent was stealing. So how are you going to help me, girl?" But the girl says she'll give Junior a tip. Never underestimate the abilities of someone you don't know well. She says she'll help him find the creature. Not that she's going to fight alongside him. She says that a good bandit always has some tricks up her sleeve to escape any problem. A while later, he's speeding through a red forest on his motorcycle, but this time with a woman on the back. This lizard is getting mad now. Right next to them, they see a giant, buff red lizard, and she says, "That's the red drake." Now it makes sense why Sunjun said it was a scary monster. Luce wants to know if they have any chance, and he replies that they'll only know when they try. He puts his suit on in accelerated mode and activates the helmet. A super pull in the direction of the creature, coming in for the one punch. The estimated difficulty of the creature is that it was a level 7 boss, and the Raidum gave it a punch right in the middle of the head. Man, I thought it was going to be one of those scenes where the beast evaporates, but that wasn't the case. It got up roaring, and the jerk is excited to give this ape a kick in the butt. Apparently, he already gave him another one up in the sky. Explosions were spreading. Seyun from below covers her face. She can't believe how he's doing something like this. Ever since she was chosen by Hermes, she's been going through countless challenges that other hunters have no idea about. But at that moment, even she couldn't quite figure out what was happening. Our boy is karate chopping, punching, kicking. Man, the red drake tripped and fell backwards. Our dude looks like my chili, and she knows that the association classified this creature as a monster close to level S. Considering all the monsters that have appeared to date in all the dungeons in the world, this creature is in the top 10. Wow, I didn't even know it was that strong. Thanks for informing me. She knows that this dude, like her, was chosen by Hermes, but it's impossible that he's gotten so strong just because of something like that. Not to mention that all high-level hunters these days have at least 15 years of experience. Besides, most of them are hunters who were chosen by mythical gods. But she's sure that Radium received his powers less than a year ago. So how is he stronger than these hunters who have much more experience? Furthermore, judging by the way the red drake is acting, she's sure something is wrong there. I get it. The drake is looking for our boy, who's there with a helmet, beating up the beast without it seeing him. That's when the sucker recognizes that he's using a kine. The monster lets out another roar and comes in to give a paw swipe. The attack hits the ground hard, but apparently nothing happened. Adam is up in the sky commenting that the jerk's plan now is to hit everywhere, since he doesn't know where it's coming from. But this jerk was a monster, and monsters are made to give money. And another one to the head. The whole ground explodes a little while later. Man, I think only the remains of the little beast are left. Apparently, it wasn't a little while, it wasn't long after that Radium says he has no idea how many punches he had to give. Wow, but actually the lizard is still alive. It wasn't that easy after all. And now the big problem is that the effect of his suit is about to end. Even though the helmet could still keep him hidden, he wouldn't be able to cause much damage. The only option left is to go all out with everything he has. He already invoked the big stick to resolve this once and for all. He jumps on the lizard, telling it to disappear. The beast seemed to feel something approaching, but I think I'm too mollywopped in the face. Or not really, right? Sometimes I get confused with the animations. The jerk dodged. The problem is, how did he do that if he can't see our boy? Sometimes our boy is good, but this time he understood. The excessive force of the stick made it so that the helmet couldn't hide him, and the problem is that now the red drake came to crush the boy. The explosion seems to hit him head-on, and Seyun wonders why the idiot didn't dodge. Until now, everything seemed to be under control. So why did he act like that? That's when Luce says that she's a human idiot. She advises that if she goes in now, she'll only get in the way, so it was good to stay far away watching. Still, I have no idea where this NFA appeared from and why she's hiding in the bushes. But she's confident in our boy, saying she's sure that Radium is fine. He's already been through countless dangerous situations before this. And every time he found a way to survive. That's why so many gods these days have faith in him. There's no way someone like Run can lose to something like this. Seyun says, I'm going to have to break your expectations. The boy just took a direct hit from the lizard. That's when she sees that Luce was trembling. Even though the poor thing was saying all this to play it cool, she was clearly afraid that the boy would get hurt. Now it's up to her to help, no matter what happens. But that's when she sees something confusing. Our boy was there climbing, saying that this lizard is very soft. She doesn't understand why the boy is suddenly clinging to the boss and why he's there. Meanwhile, Luce is now excited, cheering for our boy. The suit only had 57 seconds of effect left. And that's when, in the middle of the climb, our boy notices something. A strange crystal in the shape of a star, right below the throat, near the neck. Zeus shouts, warning that this is the reverse scale of the beast. At that moment, he understands that this must be some kind of weak point. He already opens the store, thinking that if he's going to kill something like this, it has to have a destructible or unstoppable force. So he asks Zeus if the red drake is a dragon. She says she doesn't know exactly, but because of the reverse scale, it must be some kind of different race of wyvern. At that moment, he buys something in the store, saying that if this is the case, it's a type of dragon. Then the boy goes from 1,300,000 points to 1 million. I don't know what the effect is, but you know that this sword was expensive as hell. Look at the jerk. He bought Sigurd's sword, the Dragon Slayer. He's still there clinging like an idiot in the middle of the beast's chest. Meanwhile, Soyen has no idea how he invoked the Gram. But Run knew that with this sword, now he could finish off the creature by hitting the weak point. He goes for the attack. The monster's eye shines, surrounded in flames. Wow, by Radam's face, I don't think it's going to go well. He can't understand why suddenly a bunch of flames are coming out around the monster's body. With that, the poor thing is thrown backwards, wondering if this is the creature's final trump card. He hit his back on the ground. Boy oh boy, now it's screwed. There's no way he'll be able to reach the reverse scale with the creature in this form. Zeus tells him to be careful, and A1 runs in the direction, telling him to get out of there because Phase 2 is much more dangerous. She goes to him, advising that now they'll have to work together. But he tells her that it's better for her to stay away because she can't hide her presence. But the girl always has an ace up her sleeve, right guys? She tells him to stay behind and watch what she's about to do. With that, she throws a potion of Demeter's tear. It was an ice potion from the goddess of nature and earth that freezes any monster or target on contact from 1 second to the next. The drake turned into a popsicle. And at that moment, she says that now it's up to our boy to finish it off. He asks why the girl didn't use something like this from the beginning. Because, she replies, it was obvious she was waiting for the Monsteringa to enter the second phase. Huh? He said that she could have thrown it from the beginning. And suddenly, the doofs start to argue until LCI tells him to act quickly before the creature wakes up. Guess what? The creature woke up. Really genius. Assam says that she didn't imagine that someone could get out of Demetres' prison so easily. And the worst of all is that the beast's body was again surrounded in flames. Run only had 20 seconds of traja, and Son says that it's the last chance to create an opening for him to finish off the scale. She attacks the last potion she had, which was another metro tier, but this time one of plants. To be honest, I imagined that it wouldn't work. The plants touched the body and were melted in the same second. But our boy, without much option, just advanced. The troj turns off anyway. He gave it a pule and went straight to hit the scale well. A big, giant purple cut right in the level 7 indomitable boss. Wow, the head disconnected. I thought it was just to break the scale there. Huh? What's this, son? The jerk really killed the red drake. Meanwhile, in the Gira Sunjun building, the doyen is saying that they finished doing some research in some nearby dungeons. The leader thanks him and tells him to rest today and to prepare then. But in that, the Donan says that he heard about something when he was in the elevator and wants to know if it's true. It seems that he had received a kind of time bomb from the association to give him. The leader responds that yes, it's the lizard dungeon, and he has no idea how they're going to resolve that. Apparently here, they already received the information that our boy finished the dungeon 2 days ago. At that moment, he received the call from our boy, saying that he finished, and he thought it was an investigation. But Rajan said that he didn't finish the investigation. No. He had defeated the red drake. It wasn't the plan of things, but it kind of happened. The June obviously thought that the jerk was kidding. But when he sent a gang from the dungeon to check, they saw the truth. He still imagined that the boy would suddenly change his mind and do something like that. The problem is, how is he going to explain to the people of the association that something like this happened? Obviously, it's a relief for everyone to know that a creature that was going to be released and destroy the city was finally killed. On the other hand, the fact that he died like this out of nowhere turned into a problem that now they're going to have difficulty explaining this because in the contract with Radium, there was a clause that said that it couldn't be disclosed in any way. The identity had to be kept secret. But someone has to receive the credit for a level 7 beast having died, and anyone who is will be suspected by everyone. The Donum is excited, saying that the delivery is really the Brabo. At this rate, he can beat up most of the top hunter. The June said that at this rate, he'll have to lower his friend's rank to A. At that moment, the Donum changes his mind, says that he doesn't need to raise the boy's rank. No one needs to know that he killed the beast, and leave it to there. That's when the guy wonders, he finished off the red dragon, but what about the information about the... Okay, here's the translation of the text into US English, with some adjustments for clarity and natural flow. Okay, so Lizard King, that's where we are. Right in his fancy castle. Zeus is coming, desperate and super angry, to kiss up to our boy, the savior of everyone. Lucio says like, they're thanking him for saving them. He tells her to stop stating the obvious. He then grabs the king's hand and says he only did what was necessary. He doesn't need to grovel for thanks. Poor king, he probably doesn't even know how messed up that thanks is, with the money, obviously. Before I even looked at that painting, I said that, and now he's got that sick look on his face. Yash then brings a huge chest. Looks like one of those that has a not-so-great item. As soon as it opens, they're both impressed, so I'm guessing it's something incredible. Inside, there's just a little bag. And that's it. The king's asking if he liked it, but as always, our boy's being difficult. He's gonna complain to the king, saying he risked his life to kill a super strong creature, and all he gets is a bag. But, as always, Lucio knows exactly what it is. She says it's not just any bag. Radium then asks what it is, and she explains that, like, it's an inventory from a game. You can keep putting stuff in there forever, it seems like the space never ends. The scene then jumps to the next day. Zeus from the deep web is all saying goodbye to our boy. Our guy got a call from Song Jun this morning, and apparently the gate to the city of Nozan has disappeared. Probably the existence of that gate was just a way for the lizard men to escape if they were attacked by the red drake. But now that their kingdom is safe, they don't need it anymore, and that's why the portal was destroyed. Only now did he stop to think that maybe there are ways to close portals without necessarily killing everything that's in there. If that were true, maybe the monsters and humans wouldn't always have to be fighting. Or maybe he's just dreaming too much and it's impossible for them to live in peace. While he's suffering in his thoughts, Siam calls for him, congratulates him, saying she saw what he received as a reward and is sure it will be very useful. He says yes, but asks if she's happy with the result of everything. She used those valuable potions and didn't receive anything in return. But she says she would never get involved in something if she didn't have something to gain. That sneaky one's got something on her arm, right? That little bandit. He asks what's up with that, when did she get it? Without answering anything, she's already gone, saying she really enjoyed her days with him, and thanks to the boy, she got exactly what she wanted. Now that she's gone, our boy's thinking that a bandit is always a bandit. But that wasn't his problem anymore, and it was time to go home. Lucio asks if they're leaving right away, and he says, unfortunately, no. First, he has to collect what they owe him. Dude, here come 8 billion, which is like $8 million. Song Jun says they're going to analyze the entire body of the red drake and also send him part of the earnings. Oh, our boy had forgotten that you can make a lot of money from the bodies of monsters. He's so used to just making deliveries that he forgot that this is the most profitable part of the dungeons. From now on, maybe it's not good to leave any little monster behind. Lucio is wondering why he's so excited. Our guy just tells her to come have breakfast soon. But she smelled chicken and thinks it's weird. Looks like they ate chicken earlier. He thought she wouldn't want any, but she's already desperate to eat some. He gives her a Coke, but she doesn't even care, burns her tongue anyway. Our boy wonders if she died of hunger in a past life. Our boy's eating reheated chicken from yesterday, saying that when chicken is good, there's no way it doesn't get better the next day. Not long ago, he was eating the worst chicken available in stores, and man, that gave him heartburn. But now the dude can spend money to order chicken like it's nothing. Life with money was really good. That capitalist doesn't stop. While Lucio says she'll share her little bone with him, right then a new delivery arrives. Actually, not a delivery, but a request to make a delivery. As soon as Lucio sees this, she starts stuffing all the chicken in her mouth because she knows she's going out for another cursed adventure. But our boy's not in that life of rushing around anymore. He says that first they're going to have breakfast, and then they'll go make that delivery. Now with 10 billion in the account, he can be a little more relaxed, which doesn't seem to be very relaxed. Apparently, it's in the place of the Greeks where the whole city is being burned, full of dead people. One of the soldiers says they can't stop there and let that beast advance. They attack a creature with golden fur in the middle of a smoky haze. While someone warns His Majesty that they're fighting with everything they have. But even so, it's not enough. There's no way they can stop the brute force of this monster. The king, on the other hand, wants to know where the hero they had called is. The soldier explains that they sent people to Bor to look for the hero, but unfortunately it will take 3 days for him to arrive. The king says that's too much time, the palace and all the people would have been destroyed by then. Right then, the whole place starts to shake. An explosion happens on the wall, and the Minotaur arrives. Dude, face to face with the king, who's trembling, calling for Poseidon, asking if he really had abandoned them in this moment of need. Meanwhile, at Ephesos' house, our boy doesn't understand why he's not there. Says maybe he left already because they're late. Our boy says it's Lucio's fault. That cursed one wanted to put the chicken thighs in the air fryer before they left. And our guy's thinking that his cell phone was really ringing a lot, so maybe it was something urgent. Now Radium is trolling, right? The dude was eating chicken thighs while the guys are dying there. He's a jerk. Right then, Lucio looks back and someone approaches. It's Ephesos, looking angry, saying that he finally arrived on time. Our boy is all crooked, asking if they need a delivery. Ephesos then says he called him because it's something urgent that needs to be handled now. What he's going to have to do isn't easy, but they'll talk about the details in there. The sucker just replies that he understood. At the table, the little dwarf says it's a big dilemma, so he doesn't even know where to start. For some reason, Run has a more sucker-like face than usual, and tells him to start wherever he wants. He'll try to understand. This time, he's more scared than ever because strangely, Hephaesto is very hesitant, which means something dangerous is coming. Then Ephesos comments about that conversation he had with Freya. Adon remembers that story about Cha splitting into 7 parts forever. Then the dwarf reveals that he hoped the Olympians and the others could handle this situation, but it's just getting more complicated. It seems that the creatures that were invading have already reached places beyond where they can go. In the Council of the Olympians, they were able to understand the situation a little better. The creatures are not only invading other realms of mythology, but also crossing into the realm of humans. The seed of this catastrophe was not only present in the upper realms, it had already invaded the lower world and also the underworlds. And the problem is that because of the law of causality, the gods cannot influence what they are doing in the world of humans. The good thing is that the creatures don't move as freely as they want. All the creatures do is plant some seeds and wait for them to grow, and then see what happens. That's when Radium calls Hephaesto and says he's completely lost. Who is this seed thing? Who are the gods? And what's happening? The friend wants to know if he really has no idea, and he then says that of course he's talking, but I don't know what he said. Right then, it seems that everything froze. Radium says he didn't understand and asks to repeat, and Lucio repeats that she only heard a strange static noise. Hephaesto realizes that because of the laws of the gods, he cannot pass this information to the boy. A long time ago, the gods joined forces to seal the existence of this thing, and it's no wonder that even the pronunciation of this existence is prohibited. He then says that the boy doesn't need to worry, that over time he will learn the details because the service he's going to do today is connected to all this. He then explains that they were supposed to receive a tribute from a guy named Crete, but it hasn't arrived yet. He's lucky that the father didn't hear, because he's worried about a council. Because if he knew, he would be furious. That's why our boy needs to find out what's happening before the guy finds out. And obviously he'll be generously rewarded. From what I understand, they were supposed to receive something, but they didn't receive it, and they don't want the possessor to know that they didn't receive it because he would scold them. I think that's it. Noel Gore says that for those reasons it doesn't seem so urgent. Lucio then explains that if it were any other reign it would be okay, but it's King Minos and being late for anything is something completely unacceptable to him. It seems that King Minos was a person who put his own land in chaos, all because he defied Poseidon by refusing a sacrifice of a white buffalo. It was then that the infamous labyrinth was created, in which anyone who enters is doomed. That's because inside there's a minotaur imprisoned. I don't understand what being late has to do with the minotaur, but I think there must be some connection that we'll find out soon, because our boy is already arriving by motorbike at the place, or actually not. The water walking buff was ending and he's going to have to stop on this little island. Otherwise he's going to die. Lucio says he has to be more careful. Our boy replies he didn't know it was so far. He decides to buy something at the store to help, but the Tico's boat costs 30 million, the Argonaut's little boat 50 million, Noah's Ark 100 million. Surely he doesn't have money for any of that. Lucio wants to know what they're going to do. Our boy says the only option is to look around, in case they find something useful. He goes on his back and pulls out the infinite bag, saying that it's no wonder he brought this thing. He had already filled the thing with several things that he thought would be useful. He should have put a boat in there, right? Dummy. Now he's using these binoculars to keep looking. That's when he sees a temple on the horizon. Smoke coming out. He imagines that maybe that will be a good stop if he wants to get to the island of Crete. That's when suddenly a soldier sprouts in front of the binoculars, asking who they are. Not just one soldier, but several, wanting to know why they invaded this land. Our boy asks them to calm down. He's just there to look for a boat to go to the island of Crete. When the soldiers are going to fight, asking if he doesn't know where he is, someone puts their hand on his shoulder and a very peculiar guy says that if he doesn't mind, he's interested in listening to what he has to say. Oh, our boy is finding this guy weird. I'm finding him the most suspicious person. The dude doesn't even have an eye being drawn. Actually, that's Theseus, another damn little god. For the first time, our boy seems to recognize him, and Lucio speaks up right away. Theseus is the legendary hero who killed the Minotaur, besides obviously being the only person who escaped from the labyrinth. He even became the king of the Athenians, and with the help of countless gods, he embarked on countless adventures. Theseus says that judging by the peculiar clothes, he must be the divine deliverer that he's been hearing about. By the boy's reaction, Theseus is already sure that he's exactly that person and explains that it's not difficult to guess, considering that not everyone goes out in these clothes. It seems that he heard about our boy from Captain Jason of the Argo Company. Oh, now our boy remembers that he's the guy who asked him to deal with those sirens. But he's confused with this hero in ascension thing. TC says that the boy doesn't know what they're saying about him. Apparently, not only do they all know that he did the impossible, which was to invade the nest of those sirens, he also killed the Hydra and even healed Chiron's leg. Besides that, it seems that he even went to Rame to deliver something there to those damn Nordics. The boy's making a name for himself and everyone in the divine realms already knows. Now the dude's feeling himself, right? The damn rascal saying that he really did all that. Lucio is curious to know what they're saying about her. Theseus says he heard that the divine deliverer really has a kind of helper. The poor thing is on the ground, finished, saying that she was reduced to a helper. So Theseus delivers a paper and says that if he's interested in going to Crete Island, this will help him. When our boy takes a look there, dude, he delivered the map of the brave boy. But Lucio warns that the paper also talked about the threat of the return. Radium asks if the guy hadn't killed the Minotaur a long time ago. The god explains that he actually never killed him, but left him sealed forever in the labyrinth. The problem is that he doesn't know how the seal was broken. That's why tomorrow morning he'll be going to Crete to finally kill that creature once and for all. And he asks if the divine deliverer is up to come along. Adon is indecisive. He didn't want to fight against monsters this time, but the boy is motivated and says he can count on him. Now he's all heroic, saying that things won't always happen the way you want. Meanwhile, that king is in the hand of the Minotaur, and I don't know if he's being carried or trampled, but I know that the Minotaur is not happy. The next day in the morning, our boy is waking Luo up, who as always wants to sleep 5 more minutes. He tells her to wake up soon because the boat is already leaving. They don't have time to be cute. The poor thing is there asking to stop being scolded a little. Raiden looking out the window thinks that he hopes that... Okay, here's the English translation of the text, adjusted for clarity and flow, suitable for a YouTube video. So, even though he managed to recruit a good number of people to help out the day before, Theseus told him to get some sleep and rest up. He was going to try and attract even more people to join them on this journey. That's when our guy, let's call him Run, asked how Theseus managed to stop the Minotaur the first time. He explained that he had help from the Cretan princess, Ariadne. The Minotaur is an unimaginable horror, one that brought ruin to King Minos and his entire royal family. The beast's existence is said to be a divine punishment, the price for defying a god. What's strange is that this creature should have been locked away deep within the labyrinth all this time. So how did it come back to life, and how does it have the strength to destroy all of Crete again? Theseus explained that all he wants is to know why. That's why this journey has to be quick, before everything is destroyed. He wants to end this once and for all so something like this never happens again. Run then asks why he's gathering so many people instead of just leaving. Theseus explained that he thought it would be easier that way at first too, until he heard what Hercules said. Apparently, he didn't say what Hercules said because our guy is still wondering about it. What he imagines is that maybe it is connected to the things that Hephaestus was talking about at the shop. It wasn't fun facing the creature already, and it was even worse when he had this feeling that he was getting involved in something bigger than he should. Lucia says she's ready for the adventure, and he realizes she has no idea what kind of danger they're walking into. Already at the docks, soldiers were carrying crates onto the ship when Run called out to Theseus. The hero responded, saying he thought he'd have to come get him, because Lucia says that Radium sleeps a lot. He really is lazy. The guy says it's fine and tells them to get on the boat quickly, and they'll meet the rest of the group later. Run is impressed by how massive the ship is, maybe because the ship once belonged to the Argonauts. It really looked like a pirate ship from an anime. Theseus responds that this is obvious, especially because it belongs to a legendary hero. Run asks what Lucia said, but she says it wasn't her this time. He's confused, since only a nymph would say something so annoying in such a high-pitched voice. Someone behind him then says that this is the normal reaction of a country nymph, an unknown guy. When Run glances back, oh my god, here comes Lucia 2.0. This is turning into Cosmo and Wanda, and the cursed thing is literally a short-haired Lucia. Even worse, she knows Run and calls him Louver, saying it's been a long time since they've seen each other. She gets all affectionate, saying she never imagined he'd started helping Theseus, while Louver is holding her face, telling her not to get close, that they aren't friends. This the second nymph Run's met. He realizes it wasn't a lie when Lucia said she was really tall. Someone asks what Louver is still doing there. It's Theseus telling him to help the visitors get to their rooms. Run apologizes and says it's not his fault. He has a messy nymph too. The hero says it's fine, and tells them to get ready, because they're leaving soon. Run asks Louver to show them the rooms, who was crying after being scolded by Lucia. Already inside the boat, Run and the others were going to stay in a very fancy little room. That's when Louver comes to thank Run for not saying he was fighting with Theseus. Run says it's fine if he's Lucia's friend. They're friends. Then the two start fighting. Louver says it's fine and leaves in a sad way. Run thinks it's strange and asks if Theseus treats the poor guy badly, which he explains that every nymph in the end is treated like a servant. It's not that Theseus treats Run badly, it's that Run treats them kind of differently. Radium knows that this must be because of the period in mythology where slavery was considered acceptable. Obviously for him, who lives in the modern world or something like that, it doesn't make any sense. With that, the boat sets sail. They're already in the middle of the sea, and Theseus says to himself that he never imagined he'd be throwing himself back into that labyrinth again. They arrived at the city, and the soldiers started disembarking. The entire place was devastated. Oh my God! Run was shocked. This wasn't a city, it was a pile of ruins. And even worse, the people there seemed to have died in horrible ways. Theseus knows that all of this is the Minotaur's doing. They needed to at least find any survivors. Louver then points and says that at least one building didn't seem destroyed, standing tall and intact. The Temple of Poseidon. Probably because it was a punishment from this god. The beast didn't dare go there. They all then walked there, but you could see the trail of blood leading to the doors. As soon as he opened it, expecting the Minotaur to be there, he sees a lot of desperate people. The people are emotional when they see it's Theseus. He is relieved that at least there were some survivors. The few who came out alive were being taken to the boats. Run was relieved to see that at least some lives were spared, when an old man comes up behind him and calls out to him, saying he has important information. The Minotaur had taken King Minos and taken him hostage. Run, with his 32 IQ, asks where he took the king. But it's obvious, my son. There to the end of the labyrinth, and the longer they take, the harder it will be.